Well, I figured I'd try this whole YouTube thing. Figured I'd start with these LS2 heads that I got in from a guy out of Ohio. He wanted me to port these heads off this LS2 for a LS6 intake. He's going to end up running the Texas Speed Performance 224R cam, which is a advertised 224 duration with 600 lift on the intake and exhaust with a 110 lobe separation angle. I went ahead and ported the one head already. I have the intake volume at 222 cc's and the exhaust at 80 cc's. Once they get done with the second head, I'm going to have them flowed to see exactly what flow numbers are. So I figured to start with the issues that I see that are pretty obvious with these castings. On the exhaust, I should say, we have, let's see here. So we have these humps here on the casting when they have the machining done. You have on the exhaust, around the guide, you can see all that extra material sitting there. And then on the intake, you have the same thing. Got these ramps, that flat spot there, and you just got these square edges. Same material around the guide, which is typical. Let's see. The seats aren't exactly blended in with the port very well. You have the obvious casting marks and material that just doesn't flow very well. The intakes, let's start with this guy since I have this cleaned up the best. You have this hump right there that can be removed, and if you don't mind running a little sealer on the bolt hole that boss is actually there for, it's no big deal. I go and I move this intake port to about there and I actually widen it for the LS6. Currently have it at a measurements of 3.33 inches tall, 1.19 inches wide. So as you can see, you know, it'll end up getting quite a bit wider. Not so much tall, but you'll see on the other head that I have finished. You have these seam marks in here that are pretty obvious. I clean those up, blend all this together. Same thing with these edges here from the casting. Now on the exhaust side, here I leave the floor here just because with the way these are casted, this angle on the floor side is really flat. So you get a lot better flow if you just leave this instead of going and opening it up all the way. You open this up and you blend it in, you end up making this angle there actually gets really short. So you actually lose flow because of that. So what I end up doing, and instead of going and matching it to the gasket, I match to where the manifold itself has been burning and cleaning everything off. So you can see this mark right here as you go around on the edge of my finger there. And you can bring it all the way down to here. So I open it up to there and then blend everything in. And then I go and take that casting line out, blend it in up to the seat, and then take material off the guide and blend all that in. And it ends up getting right at your 80 cc's for your exhaust. And then we'll switch over to the head that I have ported already. I'll have the seats cut here shortly. I'm going to start porting it on the head first. But as you can see, this is finished part work. On the exhaust, you can see the guides all blended in, round it over, finish nice and smooth because you don't have to worry about atomization or anything like that. So I get that rather smooth. I blend in the seats, open it up on the manifold side like I was explaining earlier. So you end up like that. So that floor is actually almost the same as stock other than cleaned up the casting. And then on your intake, I end up like so. Also run it over, blend in the guide to the casting, take all that material away. As you can see, that hump isn't there anymore, but you can see the hole where the bolt goes. And again, you can put a little sealer on your bolt when you put it in there. You're fine. You can end up actually removing more material in here, but for this particular application, it would be a bad idea just because you'd lose velocity on bottom. And this is going to be more of a street driven truck, actually, is what this is going in. So I left that there to keep a little bit of velocity at the lower lift, just so that it was a little bit more drivable. So I got this blended all in, and I actually left a texture on the intake to help with atomization, even though it is fuel injected. That never hurts. And then on the intake port, you can see I have everything blended in, rounded over. Seats blended in with the port. This is all nice and smooth. Nice flat angle here. And then of course on the intake floor, I clean all that up. And I do the same thing here, where my finger is at. I round that over just slightly because the stock casting's actually got a little bit of a sharp edge right about here. So I flatten that out a little bit, so that'll flow a little bit better as well. Something a lot of people actually overlook when they port is this little radius right here, just because it's hard to get to, so they skip it. That's not something I do. So these should end up getting pretty close to 100 CFM over stock, and that's a considerable gain. You're gonna end up running over 300 CFM on the intake ports. So along with that, we have new valve guide seals getting put in. Cleaned up the valves, backcut the valves, and reground the valves. So these, once they're installed, and I'll put back together with new Beehive springs, they'll be ready to rock. I got the guy that actually owns these heads is going to actually get it dyno tuned and a video to me. So once that's all taken care of, I'll be getting that posted as well, just to see how that thing sounds. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoy it.